The Devil's Candy. This movie is heavy metal horror. It was directed by the same guy who directed The Loved Ones, which a lot of people like. His name is Sean Byrne, which is ironic because there's a lot of burning at the end of this movie.
Oh, nice. Excellent, Smithers.
Yeah, excellent. What a tie-in. This movie's cool. A family moves into a house where a weirdo and his parents were living, and Satan began talking to him, and I guess it's because of the house, so this does have a little touch of Amityville in it. And it...
Little.
Yeah. The only thing he didn't do was chop wood.
Exactly.
We should have like a bunch of wood chopping movies we review.
Friday 5.
Yeah. Forget it, Vic. Just forget it. Yeah, so it's about devil possession, stuff like that. The family moves in. This guy's an artist, and the devil starts, having his way with him to some degrees. Not as bad as the original guy in the movie, whose name is Ray Smiley, I think.
That's who we were talking about last time, man. Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, so that guy, the way the devil possessed Ray Smiley is he would go around killing children, putting them in suitcases and burying them. He would actually like chop them up, like hardcore, like way into it kind of thing. He wouldn't just, smack him in the head with a bat and throw him in a basement. No, this guy like was invested. And then the movie is about a struggle and a battle within. I don't know. I just think that this is a really, really good horror movie. I mean, it's a possession movie that's just done really well.
The performances are amazing. I love this family, yet I am sympathetically drawn to the bad guy here. I can't help it. And that's one thing I love about this film is that you can draw me in emotionally from every side. Also, it is stunning. I mean, the color palette in this film, the framing of the shots, the music that he uses is, like you said, it's heavy metal. And it's not heavy metal in the sense of like Deathgasm, where, but heavy metal plays a very strong role in this film, and it's all used very carefully. He doesn't just randomly pick songs that sound cool. Every song that he chooses is on purpose and placed perfectly within this film. And it's we even have our antagonist here. The only way that he can chase the devil out of his head is to play it loud.
Yeah, bro. Well, by the way, real quick, dude, get some headphones, you asshole. I mean, it does the same shit. You don't have to annoy everyone else just so you. I
never thought of that.
No, that's a really good point.
That's
a
valid.
Really good point.
That's valid.
That's totally valid.
He could be playing this shit constantly with headphones on, and he don't even have to play his own guitar. He could just play these albums.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think the biggest aspect, I totally agree with what you said, Jamie. They used it so many different ways. And first of all, I'm so happy, like you said, they didn't just throw in all generic songs. Like if I heard Pantera Walk on there, I would have been like, oh Jesus, here we go. It was very specific. But I like the way that they use music to speak to the family dynamic, like you said, because right away, like it just shows that this is like a pretty cool dad, and it showed that bond between him and his daughter. He got his kid into metal, and we talked about this briefly on the last show too, where I just fell in love with this family too, and you get those connections through stuff like that, like their bond. Like they're a close-knit family, more so father-daughter than the whole dynamic with that girl, but I still feel like it is a very cohesive unit. But I thought the music played in and spoke to that aspect more than the the satanic and with the guy without the headphones type of deal. Yeah.
The guy without the headphones. Well, let me just say this. I have two things to say about the music. One is that I think Jamie's right. They use the music really properly in this movie because the metal added power and energy to a very subdued film. Like, if you think about it, like this movie is eventful enough, but it's still very tame. Mm-hmm. And so the peppering of the metal keeps it hopping in a way. Like, it keeps reestablishing the relationship between the father and the daughter, because you know that's where their passions lie and that's where their bonds lie.
Right.
as they even when you see the juxtaposition in the way he hugs her when she first gets dropped off at school compared to, a week or two later after all this is going down, and the way he hugs, even with that, you get reminded of what it was, and then you get that sense of loss all over again. Right. So that was actually as well done. But the one thing I'm going to say that is this isn't a bad thing. This really does not even take it down a point or anything like that. But I gotta say, I did a bit of an eye roll when I saw the Metallica shirts, because I don't know, I'm just like, that was just weird to me. You would think that they'd go less commercial, and like, people who are so passionate about metal, you would find it weird that it's not like black metal or whatever. Like, you'd find it's just strange that they're just sticking to like the biggest name.
Dude, there's so many different ways you could go with the music in this movie. Like, I just literally think that it's probably a personal thing with the director. And honestly, like, I rock Metallica shirts now, and I would have said that would never happen, like, even 10 years ago, or maybe
yeah, but that's fine if anyone does. I just thought that when you're making a movie and you're...
I know what you're saying.
They still deserve a great amount of respect, even though in later years they're not what they used to be. But I think they still command a huge amount of respect. Now, I do see what you're saying in that you would think that they would go for something maybe a little less known or maybe a little more obscure. But then at that same time, you also want to be able to reach people, I guess. True. Any metal fan will appreciate Metallica. We're big metal fans in this house, and we both love Metallica, but we love older Metallica. And
yeah, I'm totally just speaking on artistic.
If they were wearing Sabbath t-shirts, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, of course you're wearing Sabbath. Everybody knows Sabbath." I
would have said that. I don't even like Sabbath. Yeah.
So it's but Sabbath is that's the godfather of metal.
Yeah, I saw him live. Don't like
metal if we didn't. Well, and that's fine. That's fine. But
Ozzy was all jammed up though.
But it would be totally legit if someone were wearing a Sabbath T-shirt, right. Because that's the seed of metal. Right. But then at the same time, you could look at him and go, well, yeah, of course you're wearing Sabbath, because so it just I think no matter what they did, right. Someone would be like, oh yeah, well,
And that's so they just went for the most popular then.
That's key though. Yeah, I think, but that's what I mean. Like, I think there's so many different ways you could go, and I think Metallica falls in somewhere in the middle where you could definitely see a lot of people, like Jamie said, a lot of especially like older, or fans of older Metallica digging it. So I see both sides of the argument, and I do feel like that's a pretty good. Are we still talking about the shirts? This is so funny.
Even Beavis wore a Metallica shirt. You have to try. Right. Like, you should probably try a little anything besides the name that every household knows. I think would have been made me happier. That's all I'm saying.
Solid point. Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Okay. So, yeah. Now, Matthew McConaughey was amazing. He's grown so much as an actor from Texas Chainsaw Next Generation.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Dude, I love that I'm not the only one who made that connection, that apparently that is a connection everyone is making, because that's the first thing I thought of when I saw Ethan Embry.
Yeah, Ethan Embry was amazing.
Well, can I say something about him real quick before we get really into this movie too? He's been like a chameleon these past few years. Between The Guest, he was on a guest spot technically on The Walking Dead. He was on there for such a short amount of time. What else has he been in? He's just been. Oh, he was in that movie. Remember Vacancy? Even going back to what? That was like 2000. Yeah. I don't even know. And he's just been kind of like dropping in these movies where it's funny, because it's funny that you mentioned Matthew McConaughey. What is it?
He was in Cheap Thrills fairly.
Cheap Thrills. Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. I love Cheap Thrills. I love that song. But yeah, it's he's been like a chameleon lately in terms of like especially this role. Like I say a chameleon. I don't mean it like in the sense that you can't recognize.
Come a chameleon.
Or it's Michael Jackson. Now this dude was starting to, and then Metallica. Like
at least it ain't Metallica. We're not going so obvious.
Exactly. He's been great though, man, and oh my God, his physical presence in this was ridiculous. Forget the hair. I mean, don't forget it.
He was captivating on screen.
Right, dude? Oh, that was awesome. Completely different from the fat guy too. That's what's funny. He's like Ethan Embry's all ripped, and you got
He's repulsive.
Yeah, exactly.
You got ripped and repulsive.
Exactly. Yep.
But we're going to get into Ray Smiley very soon. Those painting sequences, I was already into it. Right when he was painting and it was like a close-up and you could see the way the brush goes through the paint and smears it around and the colors and everything like that. And when Jimmy was talking about the palette in this movie, I thought she meant this guy's actual personal palette he was using. Because that was amazing.
Yep. Agreed.
The art itself, just the way it was filmed, and the art, dude, like when he was painting pictures of all the kids, and then there's the one picture where it's just a bunch of eyes or something like that across, or right? It was like, it looked like a big moth or something with like eyes going across.
Well, wasn't he supposed to be painting butterflies for the bank or something, right? Yeah. And then maybe that's like the flip side to it. When when you start hearing voices, it turns butterflies into moths. Maybe, I don't know.
By the way, this is a spoiler review. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. By the way,
I was going to say to you guys, why do you think that Ethan Embry wasn't killing anybody? Like, why would he just paint differently?
I don't know if this is right, so I'm going to say mine before the correct answer comes from Jamie, but I took that as the family metaphor, and it speaks to that relationship with that family where, the devil, he might have been talking to Ethan, or he might have heard voices in his head, but that family aspect, there was that internal fight, and in the end, spoiler too, obviously it turned out well, somewhat well for the whole family, but I think it speaks to exactly that, Alex, where that guy really, he didn't seem like he had that good of a home life compared to Ethan Embry's family. So that's how I saw it anyways. But then again, that's such a kind of a simple way to look at it. So let's go to Jamie for the real answer and the weather.
Well, it's currently still 53 degrees in my home. That's the weather.
Okay, no. Well, Jamie, is the answer that the devil doesn't do the same thing every time?
I think that's exactly what it is. I think that when it comes to the devil, he plays to each one's weaknesses and who they are personally, and we find out that Ray, was his name Ray?
Ray Smiley.
We find out that Ray, from a very young age, had a history of killing children. And so I think that I don't think he'd been, it's not necessarily known how long the devil had a grip on him, or whether he just played to that particular aspect of him at a very early age, so maybe he had him that whole time, but he played to his own weaknesses and who he was personally. The devil's going to attack you in whatever way works best for him.
For what you're already prone to, maybe.
Yeah, and with the Ethan Embryo family, I mean, while he was exploding art-wise, it was sucking his entire life. He was ignoring his family. He was pouring everything and all of his other responsibilities. He was pouring everything into this art. It was what was the word you used earlier, Alex? Consume. It was consuming him. Yeah. This is interesting. I don't know if either of you picked up on this, but the gallery to which he was attempting to sell his art and the man who came out, it was Belial. That was the name on the side of the building.
Oh, that's the guy from Basket Case.
Well, yeah, but yeah, but okay, we'll go with that.
We'll just go with that.
That was an homage to Basket Case. That's exactly what that was.
See, that's what it's like working with two idiots. You see what Jamie goes through? Belial, Basket Case. Okay, we'll go there. Sure. Okay, Jamie, tell us the real connection here, because I was going to ask you guys, what do you think those two represent it. To me, I'm not even going to say it because I'm sure I'm going to be a little off, so let's just hear the right answer, Jamie. Go ahead. What is Belial?
Well, Belial goes back to the Hebrew Bible, where basically it's basically what we know now as the devil in Christianity. But the Satanic Bible, or according to the Satanic Bible, the Anton LaVey, it actually refers to meaning without a master, and it symbolizes independence and personal accomplishment and self-sufficiency. Because if you know anything about actual Satanists, they're all about how you are responsible for your own everything. You know, you don't owe anything to God, you don't owe anything to anyone else. You are responsible for what you get, and so it's all about personal accomplishment.
What are we to get now from the scene where he's trying to keep pouring him drinks and he's supposed to pick up his daughter because he blew it the first time and he has to get her the second time, and he's like, "Sir, I would love to sit here and finish this whole bottle with you, but I gotta go pick up my daughter." And he says, "What's another 5 minutes?" Is that?
Yeah, I mean, he knows what's going. That's the way I look at it anyway. He knows what is going to happen if he doesn't pick up his daughter on time. You know. Right. And what then consequently does happen. Because if you listen to what Ray had been saying, the devil has wanted her the entire time. And he keeps trying to push Ray to bring her to him as his candy, and he won't do it because he likes her and he doesn't want to do that to her, so he keeps turning to other children. And the devil is basically like, "No, this is what I want. This is what I want." Now, we don't see this happening. This is all kind of behind the scenes, but Ray conveys that the devil has wanted her, and so he knows the devil knows what's going to happen if he doesn't pick up his daughter in time, and so consequently it does happen. Jamie, because he's holding him there. Well, also with a sense of personal accomplishment. He's like basically saying, if you give a shit about your career, you're going to sit right here with me and you're going to finish this bottle.
That's what I picked up from that, Jamie, for real. Like on a simplistic level, that's what it's just, yeah, exactly. But what I know, it didn't explain it. Like you said, it's kind of not, like upfront about it. But that's one thing that I couldn't really figure out is why that girl specifically. But I think you just nailed it. The devil wants what the devil wants. That's pretty much the answer.
Well,
right?
They moved into that house. I mean, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the devil is about corruption. The devil is about seduction. The devil is about, and there is really no rhyme or reason. There doesn't have to be anything special about her, except that by taking her, she will cause a lot of destruction. It will hurt a lot of other people, and it's I always look at the devil as being sort of, I don't really give a fuck. I don't have to have a reason. What's going to cause people pain? What's going to cause people discomfort? That's what I'm going to do.
Like he's amusing himself, basically.
Exactly. That it's all for his own personal amusement, you know.
There's no rules or ways to do this or nothing.
I mean, he could just as easily accept, some child who has no parents, who's living on the street, but that would only then really hurt that child. What he wants is what's amusing to him is when it causes, massive destruction. And
maybe he just doesn't like Metallica.
It's just for fun,
Maybe he needs a new Metallica shirt, so he's going to take hers.
Maybe he's a Megadeth fan.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, Jamie, I wanted to can you elaborate on the originality? Because I found this movie not really that original at all. Like, yeah, it had different aspects that came together, and that's what the movie is. And I'm sure it hasn't been done specifically like this. But you mentioned briefly, it's kind of like Amityville. I think it's very much like that. I think it's very much like several different movies combined into one. That doesn't take away from it. Like, originality just wasn't the first thing that came to mind. And I'm thinking about it more and more, and it's like I don't think this movie's original at all. I just think that in its execution, that's where it thrives.
Well, that's exactly what I'm referring to. The age-old story of devil seducing man, of course, is not going to be original, but it is explicitly in the execution of this film that we've never seen something quite like this before.
Agreed. Totally.
And that's the approach to it is what I find original and refreshing.
Gotcha.
You know,
Oh, dude, even the idea that like you being possessed and then some kind of artistic thing comes out of it, that's not original at all. There's really, this is so derivative of everything that we've been speaking of now, and there's nothing really original about it. Maybe mixing heavy metal with it, but then you mix heavy metal with satanic, and that's not original, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I complained how the witches, the whole point of the witch is how we're supposed to watch how it affected the family. And that's, the whole movie focused on the family and not the witches. And for me, I felt that left me a little unfulfilled. Now, in this movie...
Was it the opposite?
No, it focuses on the family and not Satan. Guess what? I walked away feeling totally fulfilled. And I think it's because of the job they did with the family and the actors' performances that just stood out in a different way, and the way they brought it to such a real life, like, you know, kid murders and kidnappings, things like that.
Yep.
It's also something that you can connect to a little bit more easily because it's modern day,
right?
You know, and these are things that you see in your everyday life. But I want to bring when you mentioned connecting heavy metal with the satanic aspects and how that's not original. Here's the original part about that. Historically, heavy metal has been blamed for bringing kids to Satan. It's, it's the devil's music. It's blah, blah, blah. In this film, it's the hero.
Right.
And that has never been done before.
I didn't think about that. Good fucking point, dude.
And instead of bringing the kids to Satan, it bonded the love between a child and her father.
Yeah, it's the fucking hero in this film, and no one has ever approached heavy metal from that point of view before.
I didn't think about it like that. Good point, dude. That's awesome.
That's it, Dan. It's all the way it was executed. They took elements that we're all familiar with, much like The Witch did, took all those same elements, but the way the execution, but going back to like the performances, the daughter is such an amazing actress, or at least she did good in this movie, because what she could have easily done, once her father started letting her down and that, disappointing her, she could have played that teenage angst. She could have went over the top, and it could have been a very one-note Johnny with that. But instead, she played it with such depth and accuracy and realisticness. She walked the line, or whatever you say, you know?
And to speak to her performance, okay, so I really noticed something where, as a kid too, they don't give her a lot to do. I don't mean like in this movie physically and stuff like that, because the second half is just crazy. But it on paper, it's kind of a one-note character, but the acting definitely elevates it. And in the second act, really, I'm sorry, in the third act or whatever, well, really, like the second half of the movie, from where he kidnaps her and even tries to get her in the hotel that one time, she kind of plays like the victim, like the damsel in distress. But oh my God, did she do such a good job with it? And
good job on that too.
Yeah, I don't think they gave her nothing to do. I don't mean it like that, but I think that it could have totally been like forgettable. But if it weren't for the A story and B acting, and when I say A and B, those are interchangeable. I think it's everything together.
Yeah. Well, I think the only person that is a little lukewarm, I think we're all on, is the mom.
Not even bad though. Just
not bad, just not developed really.
Needed though.
And it's weird, the whole dynamic of the family, like, they're so heavy metal, but none of them look it. Like, they all look like pretty normal people, and I like that. But there's something to that, the way they're conveying those things, because I totally believe that they love this, and they're totally way into it, this and that, but I also know it adds to the depth of them, in a way, to not make them look that way.
Well, dude, I've always felt that way. I've always, maybe in 7th grade, I think I've told you, I used to wear a choke collar and corn T-shirts, and then I realized that doesn't have to reflect my my personal, my clothing sense or whatever. But that it goes back to what you were saying. You guys were both saying about the heavy metal music and stuff like that. Dude, that's exactly how the fuck I feel. Like, and heavy metal's always got a bad rap, and from many different angles too. Everybody looks at it like it's a certain thing, but that's not indicative of personality at all. And so when that whole music and you know how it falls in line with how much this family loves each other too, like I totally connected with that. I was like, perfect. Like you said, that's what it is. It gets a bad rap, and that's it could be further from the truth, you know. Much like horror fans, everybody's like, you know, looks at horror fans. Same thing when you go to a metal concert, dude. Like a lot of the times, if somebody falls down in the pit, dude, everybody stops and goes and picks you up. There you go. No, seriously, like that's it. And it's usually the biggest guy. Now, granted, life, you know, tracks all different types. There's always that one asshole who goes around and he's fucking, you know, 250 pounds like a fucking Hulk, and he's an asshole. But that's just life in general. I say the mass majority of people that are into this kind of stuff, it's extreme, especially people that don't necessarily get it. It looks extreme, but it couldn't be further from the truth or misrepresented.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think this movie represents it well, and I think that's what makes this whole family so likable and lovable, and I connect with them more than the Witch family.
Because they didn't like heavy metal.
Yeah, these guys did not know how to rock at the Witch. And even the performance of, like we said 100 times, Ethan Embry, like the fact he was so likable, and watching his struggle too, he did not just completely submit to this thing. He picked up the paintbrush and bam, he lost hours or whatever of his life, and he was just standing there, and all of a sudden it's, you know, whatever o'clock, and he says, shit, he goes to school. That is clearly out of his control. But this Ray Smiley, was he possessed by the devil back 30 years ago or whatever when he was killing kids? Why was he killing them then? And now he seems reluctant to do it, but the devil wants him to.
I think as a child, you're more easily led, you know, so maybe when he first started doing this, it was, you know, that he was more susceptible to the influence of the devil. Yep. And then he, of course, spent all that time in the asylum.
That inner struggle is so obvious, yeah.
Oh, it is, and he conveys it so beautifully. It really breaks my heart. It does, and that's one thing I absolutely love about this film. Any other film would have taken this guy and made him, you know, completely evil.
Right.
You know, he would have been like Leatherface. Well, actually, I don't think Leatherface was evil either. But he would have.
I know who you mean. Like,
it just like take somebody who's just
like the guy from Slaughterhouse or something.
Yeah,
like the guy from Wolf Creek.
Oh my goodness, Slaughterhouse.
Hey, how about when he kept watching those weird like Bible Belt videos about Satan and stuff like that before?
I think that's him trying to. He's fighting it. He's trying really hard to fight it. So if I turn up the televangelists, you know, maybe I can chase it away. I mean, he is struggling for his soul here, and he's doing everything he possibly can. And that is what breaks my heart, because he's not evil. He's not bad. He, within his soul, he doesn't want to do these things. And I just feel for him. I feel so deeply.
Oh, what a performance.
Sorry for him. And yeah, it is his performance. And like I said, any other movie would have made him just some evil bastard child killer that you don't give a fuck about. And that to me is again where the originality lies here, is that point of view for the killer. And you don't really see a character that's sympathetic in that role.
But how about even the scene where the girl's sleeping and wakes up and he's looking at her?
That's what I was talking about, dude, on the last show.
That kills me.
God.
So badly, I want him to explain it to her. I want him to say, I'm not going to hurt you,
right.
You know, instead of just like clamping her over the mouth and telling her to shut up, which that's just going to freak her out even more. But right. I'm like, the whole time I'm watching that to her, I'm like, he's not going to hurt you. Just listen. Just shush, shush, shush. Just listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's saying. I mean, because he doesn't want to hurt her. And that's what he's telling her. He's like, look, I'm not going to hurt you, you know. But she, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night, you're a teenager, and you see this dude laying in bed next to to you who looks like Uncle Fester, you're gonna freak out. So it was perfect. It was of course that's how she's gonna react. But then even in that moment, I was feeling sorry for him because I'm like,
he loves her so much that he believes in her when she says she won't yell. He's so stupid and he's so infatuated that he really says, "You won't, really? Okay." And
he's
takes
like
his hand
a child, He's it just, oh my God, it's breaking my heart all over again. I can't take it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even his reaction to her waking up and he opens his mouth like a child, that's
yes.
So
that creepy.
Freaked. Dude, that freaked me out so bad, dude. That's what I was kind of alluding to. I didn't want to give it away on the last show, but dude, when that scene hit, oh my God. And it's got those creepy moments too. And I'm sorry, Alex, I didn't know if this is where you were going with this, but even going back to the cop and liking the cop and stuff like that, can we talk about the fucking brutality of this movie?
I was going to use those exact words. I was
really?
going to say, let's address the brutality of this film while we're at it because
Jamie, we should do a podcast together.
Just leave me out of it. What are you talking about? Like the kid murders and stuff? Like, oh my God, the cop kills. Oh my God, dude, her screaming. You know what it reminded me of? I thought she was about to say swing.
Oh yeah. Swing, Meryl, swing away.
I thought she was gonna say that. Oh no, seriously, that was her screaming. And then it's funny because I heard the car and I heard her screaming and I couldn't really figure out, obviously, nobody could. Yeah.
No.
And then in your mind, like a whole bunch of scenarios are taking place. Like, well, maybe she hit a tree and she smacked her face against a steering wheel, but who were we even listening to? This and that. And then all of a sudden you look out the window and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That is terrible. Yeah, he was an asshole. Like, well, it's funny because I remember Jamie saying that she wanted to hug him and stuff on the last show, and then as I'm watching this asswipe pull the trigger to blow the mom's fucking brains out, I'm like, I don't agree with Jamie.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, maybe in the beginning I could see this, but I don't know why she's still talking about him like that because I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, Jamie, but eventually there comes a point where I'm like, okay, I'm no longer. Yeah, I'm not on board here with you.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
By the end, I was there too. It actually
reprehensible shit.
But even then, I knew it wasn't.
I know it's not him.
It's just not him, and but they gave us enough in the front of the film,
right? Totally.
So that by the time we got to the end where he was doing some really reprehensible shit and I was like, okay, maybe, take him out, burn it, kill it with fire.
No, wait, am I remembering this wrong? Because I did only see it once. Is there a part where I believe it's the kid who gets smacked in the back of the head on the swing. Now, I recall that kid being alive and then he comes over to cut him up while he was alive? Am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know.
I don't remember because I was so relieved that they didn't go the dog route.
Oh right, yeah.
Because I was like, because the whole time I'm sitting here going, because you're not really sure which way he's going because they're kind of being cagey about which
direction he's in. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so I was sitting here going, go for the kid, go for the kid, go for the kid, go for the kid.
Exactly.
You're horrible.
Yep, I agree though.
I feel like we didn't even really mention anything about these child murders. Now, it seemed like such a big deal when the guy fucks the baby in the Serbian film and stuff like that, but how come we're not saying anything about taking a baby and mashing him up in a big wooden barrel? Disemboweling them.
Society is always more horrified by sex than it is by gore. That's just the way it is. We can take violence as a society way easier than we can take a sexual crime, and I don't know why that is. I think it's messed up. I don't know why it is, but well, it's just like in '84 when they initially Freddy Krueger was going to be a child molester, and then. Right. And then it was like, no, we can't molest children. Let's just kill them.
Well,
because that's better.
I agree with what Jamie just said. I think it's probably always been there, except that, the MPAA and society in general, they're just starting to, because you get the flip side to it where, stuff like that, it sounds fucked up, but like the more extreme some things are and the darker television shows get, look at Breaking Bad or True Detective, stuff like that, where things are getting so darker to where I think it is becoming, quote unquote, more socially acceptable. Not in real life, just I mean in terms of them realizing people can take shit like that now, because I mean, the more you hold back, you're censoring art. And I think they're not there yet, but I think the MPAA and people in general are starting to come around to that. But that's just my thought.
It's not socially acceptable in real life. I have to change my plans for the weekend.
Jamie's really mad about that furnace not working. Jesus, turn on the heat for this girl. She's gonna kill some kids. What the fuck?
You know what? It's the furnace. It's the devil. The devil has left my furnace. That's why it's quiet.
Jamie, you're like in the furnace room in The Black Coat's Daughter.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Why don't you give us some offerings? That way, he could reject you.
Don't go,
please.
Everything comes full circle.
It does.
I'm going to be chopping wood in a few minutes here. We don't even have a fireplace, but I'm going to start chopping some wood.
Wow, maybe it's. I just can't. I'm too caught up in this now.
Dude, can I tell you how happy I was because we love this family so much? Like, spoilers, obviously, spoiler alert for this, but I'm so happy there was a happy ending to this. Like, I did, and especially after that brutal scene that we just started getting into, where shot the mother, and that how he shot Ethan Embry, and how that whole thing played out. Like, I'm like, oh man, it reminded me. It just left on such a dark note. It reminded me of like the ending of like Scream 4 at one point when Sidney died.
Emma Roberts is back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. It was such a down. I'm like, really? I'm like, please don't fucking end it like this. So I'm glad that they really, and then they brought back that quick vision in his head, and then that awoke him, and then he's like, where is he? Or where is she? And then, dude, here's the thing though. Now we mentioned the music, right? I fucking love this type of shit. When a movie straight up goes rock star on you, I love it because it wasn't over the top, but it used that whole rock star thing to where, okay, here we go. Now he's going to fucking go get her. And I'm still hoping that they didn't do that, have him save her and all that kind of shit, beat him over the fucking head with the guitar. He does it with the guitar, right, too? That's badass, dude. I was hoping that they wouldn't go good and then retract from that. I guess they kind of did a little bit with the voices at the very end, but even still, I am so happy, you guys, that they ended this on a semi-happy note.
In this one, you almost needed a happy ending. You needed it.
Oh, hoping.
Everything was just tied together so well. And like I said, the daughter's performances, she was so one-dimensional. You saw her struggle and everything like that. I mean, they could have probably, you saw it the most with that awkward hug in the car. I think they could have explored that a little more. They could have showed more loss from her normal daily life instead of just not getting picked up from school on time and stuff.
They were very to the point with this movie, though. They didn't really, like you said, with the art dealer, too, they could have explored many aspects, and it could have added to it, but this movie's very straightforward, very quick in its execution, and it gets there quickly, and yeah.
And you know what? And you still get that other stuff out of it. It's almost like, maybe I'm wrong about a couple of these things where I say maybe things should have been explored, like the art dealer and the daughter, because we all seem to fucking love it. So, I mean, why drag shit on, and who needs that? I mean, just get to the point. We still took the same stuff away from it. I still love the family. I guess whatever was in there was a lot more than what wasn't in The Witch to me, Right. So why would I need anything else,
Well, there is 11 minutes of something else out there that Jason
really?
saw that
of course he did.
has been trimmed from the current release is 79 minutes, and it was originally a 90-minute film, which is not long. That is normal. That is your average film.
Yep.
And even on the short side nowadays,
Yep. Totally.
And now, and I asked him, what's missing, and and he said nothing nothing significant was taken out. It was mainly just some of the scenes had more time to breathe.
Yep.
And so they relaxed a little bit and allowed things to happen. And I was trying to picture, do I want those 11 minutes? I do. I want to see those 11 minutes. I want to see what it does for the film. Right. As the film is, I think it moves along nicely. I think it's just fine. But I love it so much, and I love looking at it so much. I wouldn't have minded seeing some of these scenes breathe a little bit longer. I'd be willing to stay 90 minutes with this film. So I'm curious to see the full version, and I hope that when they release it on Blu-ray, it does have the full version, because I'd love to compare those.
As an option, I don't want to be forced to get it because...
No, I mean, as an option, I'd like the opportunity to see it. And maybe there is something, because 11 minutes in film time is a long time.
It's a long time.
So there could be some other full scenes that are completely missing,
Yeah, but I also think that speaks to the movie too, where us asking those questions about the dealer and more, we want more of this, more of that. I think that's always good to explore, because that just, oh wow, I want to see more of that. I think that speaks to the movie's strengths, but at the same time, if it does work on the other end of the spectrum where it's not really needed, I think it's even better to just think about and that's what makes movies fun for me. Like you think about all the stuff that they could do, but at the same time, it's like, you know what, though? Not really necessary, but I think it's always fun to think about stuff like that, man,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's great. Everything about this is great. There's really, for as derivative as it is, for as cliche as the T-shirts are, for some things we want more of, I mean, this is amazing. And, just like we realized The Witch showed us that witches have no shame, this movie showed us that fire is really not all that hot.
Apparently not.
You can hang out in a room that's engulfed in flames and get whatever you got to get done.
And you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Especially when it's CGI fire, which is the one thing that takes away from it. And honestly, it doesn't bother me enough to even really take away from it. It just is the one thing that I was like, damn. That is the CGI fire. But whatever. By that point, I was so completely invested and I was so in love with this film, I didn't really care.
Exactly. Maybe it's his weight loss plan. That's a quick way to burn some fat,
Is that why he did that?
I think so, man.
He's like, listen, honey, we're going to get two things done at once tonight.
No, but overall, though, I think this is an amazing movie. And also, like I just said about that, it's weird because it's funny, like how you can take those generic aspects of it and still create an awesome story while using those and not implementing the generic like mindset of it. Like, yes, there might be generic aspects, stuff that we've seen before, done in such a fucking perfect way. And to me, dude, I enjoyed this movie so much. I kind of really want to watch it again as we're talking about it, but it was near perfect to me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Again, like, how many films is this? 4, 5, 6 films in 2017 that we've seen that just keeps killing it. I keep trying to say,
I forgot that we reviewed Split.
Right? Everything.
Yeah, we are really doing a lot of production in this show.
Dude, I owe that to. I was thinking about that too, but we kind of been spoiled where we've been getting all these movies. Like the podcast is going great because we have great movies to review.
Right. And even Invisible Man and Creature Black Lagoon, like even the ones we chose going backwards have been great.
Yep.
So amazing climax. I mean, I could not have been more invested. Talk about investment. I mean, man, when that car crushed the lady, the other cop was getting, whatever.
Brutal.
Then he comes in, and then you see, when he's walking in, and you see the red, like, blurry window that was in Ethan Embryo's mind earlier in the movie when he was having some kind of forward flashes or whatever you want to call it, like premonitions. Yep. When that clicked in your mind, like, yeah, that's what we were looking at that one time. And then he shot him, and he's in the house, and he pulls the legs, and he gets the girl, and it's just like, and the gun to the mom's head, and then going up the stairs, the gas pouring. I was just like, oh my God. And then the mom waking up the dad, like, holy shit, dude. It was just, and it only got a tad, like we kind of alluded to, a tad ridiculous with how long these people could be in that room. We got to remember the heat, the monoxide, or carbon dioxide, whatever.
Carbon monoxide, yep.
Their hair would have melted up to their heads already by their point they were in there.
True.
It's just crazy how long they were in there. I don't really know why they did it that way. I think they could have gradually built the room up a little bit better, maybe not so engulfed in flames, and then it got worse and worse. That would have helped this movie, I think, and it would have helped the ending, because you do eventually, like, even though you're so invested and you love it so much, you're like, well, why are you still in there?
Right.
You know? So, and I gotta say, I'm a fan of editing. I think there's something to be said for that. So, although I think with Jamie's view, I would like to see those 11 minutes one time, and that's it. And then I'll go back to this movie. Yeah, the way it is.
Agreed. Yep.
So, how do you guys rate this? Dan Chase.
Same thing, man. 4.5. I've been thinking a lot about this. I love it, dude. I love this movie. I think the rewatchability is strong too. I watched it again for the show here, and yeah, man, just a solid flick, dude. And it preaches to that point of like, or it speaks to that point where it's just sometimes it doesn't originality for me in that sense. And I know, Jamie, what you're talking about in terms of originality too. It's just kind of different ways of using different ways of approaching the same word, really. But I love how the original take on it of what you said, but this isn't necessarily original, so to speak, and yet it still thrives as an incredibly good movie, to where I think it's great, dude. I like it. So it's 4.5.
Don't steal her line.
I'm sorry, Jamie. Sorry. You can steal mine. You could say you're from Boston. You could say you're from Jawsland if you want. But yeah, so that's.
She would love to say that.
Yeah, right. 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Nice, Jamie Sammons. How do you rate this?
This is a straight up 5 for me, no question. I'm telling you, by the time we get to the end of the year, if this isn't my number one, I will be. Well, one, that will mean we have had one hell of a fucking year. But I will be completely surprised, because this came in and swept away everything else I'd seen so far this year, and I've seen some good stuff. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. I cannot recommend it enough. And I know we talked about a lot during this, like we talked about a lot of stuff, but there's so much stuff that we didn't say. So don't think that if you listen to this review that you were like, oh, well, I don't need to see the movie now. Yeah, no, that's bullshit. You need to see this movie. There's so much stuff we didn't touch on. So, that's just how chock full this movie is. It is so perfectly done, so perfectly executed. And you just look at it too. Holy shit, is it pretty? This is a pretty, pretty movie.
It's pretty.
Can we change our review segment to just like Jamie's final argument? We could have a gavel. Like
she keeps dropping that mic.
Oh my God! Yeah, that pretty much said everything.
Oh, you noticed that? I was hoping you didn't hear me drop it.
Literally. Alex, what'd you think, bro?
Oh, despite the shirts and the fire, I'm sorry. That does nothing to hurt this movie in any way, shape, or form. This is a straight up 5 out of 5 to me. I was just blown the fuck away, including the derivative, including this Amityville. It doesn't matter. Mentally ill from Amityville.
Accidentally kill your family still. Thinking he won't, goddammit, he will.
Like, just the choices, like Dan said, the happy ending choice, the struggles that went on were so much better. The humanity in this movie is so strong. Enough can't be said. And the music kicks ass. It's the rock and roll horror movie you always wanted.
Yes.
It is just fucking great, man. And I can't wait. I will buy this. And
yeah, if you people have not seen these movies, see these movies. We're not.
See them.
3 out of 3 Skeleton Crew members can't be wrong.
No,
True.
that's impossible. Right.
Yep.
So this is like Jamie's favorite episode of the Skeleton Crew ever. I wouldn't be surprised if she re-listened to this because she gets to hear about 2 5 out of 5s on one jam-packed show.